What's going on? It's Lance Hayes with Sports Social Live, and we're talking the 5 things the Texans have to do to be successful against those desert birds. Subscribe, like, share. What's going on, Texans fans? Lance Hayes with Sports Social Live, and I'm excited for this Week 11 matchup between my Houston Texans and the Arizona Cardinals. This will be a great game for the Texans. It could be a possible trap game. We have to watch out and see. Kyler Murray's coming in off of injury. James Conner back for the Cardinals. And the Texans have a few missing pieces in the linebacker core. This is a Week 11 matchup where the Texans are wearing their blue steel with those nice candy red slab helmets, I like to call them. And they're going into this game on a high. How do we roll off of a high? How do we work off this high? How will our infrastructure continue to build off this high? I'm excited to see how this goes. So let's roll into it. Let's get into it. The top 5 things the Texans have to do to be successful in Week 11. Number 1, defense. Our defense has to handle Kyler Murray well. And that's going to be a tough task when we're limited on our linebacking core. I have to see the defense play and swarm to the ball because Kyler Murray is going to have the ability to extend those plays longer. And with backup linebackers in, and we have Toa out, we have Perriman out, we have a couple of people on the injured reserve or banged up. That's going to be a tough task for the Texans to conquer. Our front seven is also banged up as well. Will Anderson Jr., questionable, banged up. So how will we handle Kyler Murray? That's my number one thing that I want to see from the Texans, and that will kind of put that game on the mark for us on how do the Texans handle Kyler Murray? How does that defense play? And we're gonna go keep it rolling. Number 2, the Texans have to have a good game plan. So I want to see how Bobby Slowick game plans for the Arizona Cardinals. Last week we saw him kind of step it up in the run game. Kind of our O-line allowed us to be successful in the run game, getting behind those big hogs. They were running well, and Singletary had a season high 150 yards off of a good number of carries. So what kind of game plan will we go after and attack these Arizona Cardinals? We need to keep Kyler Murray off the field. So are we going to sustain these drives, or do we go into more of a pass first in the earlier down and get the ball out? With Nico Collins coming back, we can possibly do that. There's no Noah Brown, but we have Nico Collins, Tank Dell. I think Brevin Jordan's coming back. We have a host of people that can make some plays for us. So I'm excited to see how the Texans are able to handle this Arizona team as a whole, and how Bobby Slowick calls the game plan. So that's my number 2 of the 5 things the Texans need to do in Week 11. On to number 3, the O-line mix. It all starts with the front seven. Those O-linemen have to be good. And it looks like we have some good cohesiveness building in an O-lineman. I like Michael Dieter at center. I don't know what's going on with Juice Scruggs, but I like Dieter at center. I don't mind Titus Howard at left guard. He's doing what he can. You have Laramie Tunsil at that tackle position playing well, and we have Fant and everybody doing well on the other side, on the right side. So we're keeping this cohesive line unit together, and I'm excited to see how the Texans perform this O-line, what kind of mix we're going to do. It was a question early in the season, and I still have questions about it now and the viability going forward. But I like what's going on. We just had a phenomenal run week. Can't complain about it. So that's my number 3. Let's roll on. Let's keep it rolling. We're knocking them out quick here. And we're going to move on to number 4. I am interested in seeing the DB play without Ward. They played a good game last week, and I'm okay with it, but we still got some huge throws on us, like Jamar Chase. Granted, we were playing a top electrifying offense with Joe Burrow, Chase, Boyd balling out. But I'm interested to see how this Texans DB coverage team plays. Petrie has been doing a lot. What are we gonna do going forward in that pass game on the back end? How are the safeties gonna handle it? How are just our corners gonna handle it? What kind of defense are we gonna run? They'll have to step up and help that kind of tattered linebacking core. So I'm interested to see how the DBs are able to play going forward throughout the season, let alone this game. Kyler Murray has the ability to extend plays when needed with his feet. And if you let them, James Conner can sneak out the backfield and he actually can catch out the backfield. So what can we do to stop those desert birds from going long and deep after Kyler Murray extends plays? I'm excited to see it. That's something that I'm watching out for in Week 11 for the Texans. That's my number 4. And number 5 of the top 5 things to look for in Week 11 with the Houston Texans. I want to know what D'Amico is gonna do in the game management area. D'Amico has been doing a good job of just coaching and building the infrastructure. We've seen a few chances or instances where he's been kind of made questionable decisions, but I really don't mind some of the decisions. It was just game management, clock management that could have been better if we hadn't kind of made those decisions that were made, right? But hindsight is 2020. Coach Ryans is doing a great job building the infrastructure, and I'm sure they're going to get the tempo management down as well as the game management down going forward in this game. And I think it's going to be crucial to see how they bring up the tempo to try to get the team like Arizona out of there. You don't want Arizona Cardinals team to stick around with you. You want to get going and get them out of there. You don't get paid for extra points. You don't get paid for. I got my alarm going over here. You don't get paid for extra points. You don't get paid for extra downs. So we need to get them out of there, get the scoring going, and be successful going forward and go on to Jacksonville. So that D'Amico game management piece is what I'm interested in seeing going forward, especially with Jacksonville coming up, Tennessee coming up with that variable team. I'm interested in seeing how that's going and Cleveland going forward. So those are my top 5 things to look out for in Week 11 with the Texans. Number 1, I had how the defense handles Kyler Murray. He's fast, electrifying, and it can extend plays. Number 2, I have Bobby Slowick game plan. The Bobby Slowick game plan, it kind of seems like it changes every week, but it still has that foundational base based off the run. I want to see what he does this week. Number 3, the O-line mix. That O-line is gaining cohesiveness. Do we move people around? Do we get Titus Howard back to the right side? No one knows, but I like what's going on now. Number 4, the DB play without Ward. Jimmy Ward out. How are we going to handle the back end and those extended plays? Who's going to cover these receivers? Petrie stepping up. Maybe we get some Stingley working in there. I want to see it. I'm excited to see it. Number 5, D'Amico in the game. D'Amico game management. D'Amico game management is critical as we go down the stretch. I'm interested in seeing how he's able to call the plays, manage the tempo, and do well going forward. And that wraps up the top 5 things to look out for in Week 11. I'm Lance Hayes with Sports Social Live. Subscribe, like, share, and let's get this dub.